Oh, hey, what's that? I'm wearing the same hoodie. I don't want to talk about it. About a year ago, somebody asked me to make a second video, a part 2 to my first video being the books that I don't loan, that are in my office. Somebody asked me to see the books that I do loan out, which is right here in my front room where my living room is. I very deliberately organized it into sections. So this section is like feminism, self-help. This section is witchcraft, specifically witchcraft. This section is herbalism, plants, gardening. This section over here is myth and mythology. This section down here is my partner's books. This section over here is history of America. And then this section over here is my Blu-rays and DVDs collection. Physical media, baby. Collect physical media. They're going to take everything off of streaming, and then what are you going to do? What are you going to do when they take everything off of streaming? Pirate shit. I mean, collect shit, share with your friends, and pirate it. Okay, let's begin. Starting with feminism and self-help, we have Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. You may ask, why the hell do you have Chicka Chicka Boom Boom? This is one of the best books of all time. I would read it to you, but it would take up a lot of our time. I spy year-round challenges. Hey, sometimes you got some friends over and you want to pull out an I Spy book and have a good time with everybody. This is Year-Round Challenger, a book of picture riddles. If you don't know I Spy, I don't know what to tell you. You gotta get on I Spy. Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is like an AI robot story. It's really cool. I recommend it. It was good. It wasn't my favorite, but it's a lot of people's favorite. Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. This was a gift from my step-mother-in-law, I think is how she is related to me. A gift from someone. It was good. I liked it. This is one of my favorites of all time. Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. Dr. Emily Nagoski, PhD. One of the things that I learned from this book is that all genitalia is the same on a spectrum. That was very life-changing for me to learn. Chanel Miller, Know My Name. I still haven't read this one. This was given to me by my friend Elisa. I still haven't read it. I don't feel like I'm emotionally ready for it. Chanel Miller is the young woman who was sexually assaulted by a young man whose name I won't say at her university. She was known as Jane Doe and addressed him with a really affecting speech in court, and then has gone on to have a very illustrious career. The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Kolk, MD. Hey, if you haven't read this one, read this one. Unless you don't want to fuck yourself up. If you want to fuck yourself up, read this book. The Heroine with 1,001 Faces. You know I have a tattoo for The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. I bought this book because I was excited to see the flip side of it, because Hero with 1,000 Faces is very man-focused. I will say it's not as good, but that's not because of the subject matter. It's because The Hero with 1,000 Faces is a work that was like a lifetime in the making, and I don't think The Heroine with 1,000 Faces was a lifetime in the making. I think it was a response to Hero with 1,000 Faces. It's not going to hit as hard. You're Not Listening, What You're Missing and Why It Matters by Kate Murphy. I'll be so real with you, I haven't read this one yet. Healing Back Pain, from a friend who had chronic pain due to a childhood that was very volatile and left a lot of emotional and physical scars that resulted in chronic nerve pain. She recommended me that book and said that it started to heal up her nerve pain just from like reading it, The Mind-Body Connection. So that's why I have it on my loaning library. Classical Mythology, 4th edition. Always a mythology anthology. Come on. This is the Witchcraft shelf. Of Blood and Bones, Working with Shadow Magic and of the Dark Moon. I feel like I shouldn't comment on that. Symbols of the Occult, a directory of over 500 signs, symbols, and icons. Hey, I feel like you're learning a lot about me in this moment, and I just want to say you're right. Divination Dictionary, a beginner's guide to fortune telling. A classic, everybody knows. The Book of Practical Witchcraft, a compendium of spells, rituals, and occult knowledge. This is a good place to start. Brujas, the Magic and Power of Witches and of Color, Lorraine Montagu. I really liked this one. This one's really beautiful. She writes about like community in Brooklyn and the Bronx of Black and brown witches, Dominican witches and stuff like that. It's just really nice to read. So many witchcraft books focus on white feminist witches and Wiccans, and it can be discouraging and like uncomfortable. So I recommend that one. Archaic Techniques of Ecstasy, Shamanism. I bought this book because I read the book The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down. Brilliant book. And it's just a story about how the American healthcare system and hospital and stuff like that can fail people for cultural reasons. That book was awesome. In it, there are a lot of shamans. I bought that book in the aftermath. Post-colonial astrology, reading the planets through capital, power, and labor. Again, astrology tends to be pretty white. Positively tarot. I wouldn't recommend this one. I do read tarot. You can learn it online for free. This one I love. This is Cursed Objects, Strange but True Stories of the World's Most Infamous Objects. This book is fucking bloody brilliant. You should get this one. My partner and I, what we do is every night in October, we'll start from the beginning and read one story. And some of them are fucking creepy. But the thing that I really love about this book is Cursed Objects I like because a lot of these books deal in the absolute, that this is all true. That's not really my thing. I like to read people's perspectives that things are true. But Cursed Objects starts off by saying, an object is cursed because of the way that people think about it. There's this concept called an orgon, I think is what it's called, which is an entity that is created from people's imaginations. If you've watched the anime Mob Psycho or read the manga Mob Psycho, there is like a mini episode where they go and chase down a demon that is brought to life just because somebody made a rumor about it on social media, and then everybody started to believe it, like Slender Man. Slender Man, if we saw him in real life, that would be an Orgon who is born just because people kept on thinking about him and being afraid of him. Loch Ness Monster would be another one, right? Bigfoot, another one. That gets into like cryptids and shit. Again, theoretical. I'm not saying this is real. I'm just saying there's that concept. And so Cursed Objects takes that stance and says, who are we to say if these are cursed or not? All we know is that people experience bad things around them that could be due to their own psyche making those things, or could be due to something else. Who knows? I love that. Totems, the transformative power of your personal animal totem. I got this one from the Walt Disney Animation Studios library when I worked there 2019, 2020, and 2021. We got sent home in COVID. I had taken this book out, and then I moved to San Francisco, brought the book with me because we couldn't go into the office, so I couldn't return it. And my intention was to bring it back when we went back into the office, but I quit. And so I still have the book. Miyako Kawakami, Breasts and Eggs. I loved this book. This has nothing to do with witchcraft. I must have just ran out of space on my shelf. I loved this book. Like Amy Tan's The Joy Luck Club, it's about like the difficult relationship between a mother and daughter across generations. God damn, 16 minutes? Next one. I gotta talk less. Here are my ocean books, Oceanography and Gardening, plus also A Swim in a Pond in the Rain by George Saunders. This book was gifted to me by my friend Kenna, who is directing Toy Story 5 at Pixar. Thank you very much, Kenna. They got it for me because they were excited about. It's a book of Russian literature, Russian short stories by a Russian literature professor. So he basically has compiled his lectures into this book to analyze Russian literature from a professor's perspective. It's really cool. The Complete Mushroom Hunter. I learned a lot about mushrooms from this book. In COVID, I had a mushroom phase. I grew them in my fucking closet for a while. Not that type. I grew oyster mushrooms in my closet. Evolutionary Herbalism, Science, Spirituality, and Medicine from the Heart of Nature. I got this one in a witchcraft shop in Seattle. And I just thought it sounded cool. One of my favorite books of all time. I got this one at the library in CalArts, and I made it my whole personality for 2 fucking years. It has the most beautiful illustrations. Since we evolved with plants, human beings have this, and I'm not lying, this isn't like conspiracy theory. Human beings have this ability to recognize thousands and thousands of plants. And you can use that to your advantage by like just memorizing cool plants that you like, flowers or trees or herbs or whatever. Traditional garden wisdom, fruits, vegetables, and herbs. These ones are not my books. These are my younger siblings' books. When we decided we were going to start a garden together, we both have ADHD. We went to Home Depot and dropped like $200 on a bunch of stuff thinking we were going to go to garden. And then I took my younger sibling to a bookstore and he picked out these books. And then we were like, fuck yeah, we're gardeners now. And then we forgot to water it one time and then everything died because we never watered it again. Forest School for Grown-Ups, Explore the Wisdom of the Woods. It's like the concept of forest bathing where you go into a green area and you enjoy being in a green area. That takes it to a different level. Drawdown, the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming. A book that is hopeful about climate change. And sometimes you fucking need that. So it's just a book that's like, here's transport. These are the trucks that we've invented that will use significantly less carbon emissions. Here's marine permaculture and how we're planting more sea kelps in order to bring back the natural creatures that live in the giant underwater kelp forests in California, off the coast of California. I love that book. The Next Great Migration. This one's really cool. The premise of this book is that people are migratory the same way that birds are. And this whole idea of like putting borders, artificial borders on the land, has created a weird idea that humans stay put, but they do not. It is not human nature to stay put. Blue Wonder, Why the Sea Glows, Fish Sing, and Other Astonishing Insights from the Ocean. Read this one just because it's cool to learn about the ocean. This is my partner's shelf, so I'm just going to go through really quick. The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. The Ohlone Way, which is when we lived in San Francisco, that's Ohlone land. That's the indigenous people of that region of California. The Door by Magda Zabao. The Golden Compass, also by Pullman. The Mists of Avalon, which is like another mythology book, but Irish mythology, I think, or English. The Crossroads at Midnight by Abby Howard, a comics artist who my partner is a really big fan of. This one is terrifying. I started to read it. It's too scary. It's gruesome. Great art, brilliant stories, but I don't like body horror. It's too creepy for me. We have Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. That was a gift. The Earthsea Cycle, The Towns of Atuan by Ursula K. Le Guin. Actually, I'm taking that. I will be reading that. Ducks Newburyport, my partner's best friend's favorite book of like 2020 or something. And then The Natural Navigator. Ooh, I remember this one. My partner learned a lot about like the sun and moss and how moss grows on the north sides of trees because this in the northern hemisphere because of the way that the sun rises. So that's how you can like locate yourself in space, whatever. Same thing down here. This is my partner's books. This is Pullman, Irish verse, Irish folklore. Oh, can you guess, by the way, that my partner's Irish? A couple of albums that my partner really likes and a couple of animes or mangas that my partner likes. Last shelf. We made it, boys. This one's my favorite. This is like queer and brown American history. History of the world, map by map. You know I love a good map. You know I love a good map. This was actually my Christmas present. This one is called The Age of Exchange. Shut up, this is so fucking cool. It's like the history of the world in maps. Now, you think that's cool? Bam! The history of North America in maps. This book is heavy. A Nation Divided. Immediately, I like opened it and it went to the 1870s and enslavement and stuff. From empires to independence. I know there's Polynesia in here. Forcible annexation of the Kingdom of Hawaii. So, I'm really excited about those. Those are my Christmas presents this year. My partner knows what I like. What can I say? How to Hide an Empire by Danielle Immerwahr. This is a really good book. It's about how the United States is an empire, the same way that like the English Empire was. You get it? Like Great Britain and the colonization of India and all of that shit. Here's all of America's colonies that it still has. Guam, the Swan Islands, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Saipan, the Bikini Atoll, the Philippines, Guantanamo Bay, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Toole Air Base. And just how America pretends that that's not the case. How can you have a continental United States and then have two U.S. states that are not? Like from sea to shining sea, but also Alaska and Hawaii, also Guam and Puerto Rico? That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? Right, so that book gets into it. 1491, that's a great title for a book. New Revelations of the Americas before Columbus. Hey, you want to know? I know you want to know. So that's the book that'll teach you. An Indigenous People's History of the United States. You want to know? I know you want to know. Who makes the histories? Exactly. Right. This one's crazy. Women Who Run with the Wolves. This book is crazy. It's so good, but it's crazy. Like the way that the author writes. She writes in a way that the scariest auntie that you've ever met in your life would speak to you. So it goes into analyzation of fairy tales and then the application of them. The original fairy tales back when they were scary. She analyzes them and explains what they're meant to do. This is one of my favorites of all time. Everybody, an honest and open look at sex from every angle. I am obsessed with this fucking book. First of all, illustrations in it, incredible. Second of all, it's an anthology of stories of people who they asked to submit stories about sex and bodies. And so they then took them, God damn, look at these illustrations. They took those stories and organized them into sections. So there's a section on aging. There's also a section on like anal sex. And there's a section on non-monogamy, underwear for trans people, sex literacy. It's just a book that is all about different people's experiences with sex, sexuality, and their bodies and other people's bodies. I love this book. This one I got in Aotearoa. Pride, the LGBTQ plus rights movement. A photographic journey. Yeah, Gay Activists Alliance, 1963. Queer, a collection of LGBTQ plus writings from ancient times to yesterday. You know they got their Sappho in here. They have Virginia Woolf. Oh, there's Jane Austen, Langston Hughes, Virginia Woolf. I already said that. But it's just like queer writings throughout history and like the things that make them gay. And it's just so nice to see. It wasn't ever called the things that we call it now because that's a naming thing, but it's always been there and you can see it the whole way down. Same thing before we were trans. A new history of gender. And look at them. Look at them. Look, I love these books up and down. I love these books down, but I do keep them on my loaning shelf because I think it's important to let people read them. So when people come over to my house and they look at my shelf and they go, ooh, this looks good, I go, take it. Take it and bring it back. It's the same thing of having physical media. Down here, my I Love Lucy collection. Lifeboat, The King's Speech, Porco Rosso, Click, Castle in the Sky, Amelie, Kiki's Delivery Service, Planet Earth, Alien. Have you read the book Fahrenheit 451? I hate that fucking book. I hate that book because the author is so like, TV makes you stupid and anyone who watches TV is stupid. But they did get one thing right, which is that when they come for the books, when these big guys come for the books and burn like the Nazis did, burn like decades and millennia and centuries of knowledge about who we are, right? Whether it's queerness or whether it's the Kingdom of Hawaii and its forceful annexation. When they burn the books that tell our histories, the people who have the stories are the only versions of those books available. Read, because if you read widely and they try to get rid of the book, you still have it. That's why you read, right? I mean, that's not why. You read to like expand your perspectives and become a better person and because it's interesting and fun to do. Reading is like every book that you read is you encountering an entire another person's brain and everything inside of it. And taking, if you read a book by an expert, if you read Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, PhD, everything that she learned, she's now told you about that topic and she's an expert. Now you have the knowledge, I mean, you don't have the knowledge of the expert, but whatever she could teach you, you now have. That's the power of reading, right? Same thing for fiction is when somebody takes their entire life and condenses it into a story and then tells you that story, you have now absorbed the story of another person's life because people can only write what they know. So if you take, for example, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, that story is so fucking good. And once you read it, you now have that in your heart. And it took her however long that it took her to write it, and you read it, and now it's yours. That's the power of reading. So the thing that Fahrenheit 451 got right is if you memorize a page in a book, the first one that jumped to mind for me is A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Bad Beginning, one of my favorite books of all time. Instead of toys, Count Olaf had provided a small pile of rocks for the children to entertain themselves with. That's so brilliant. It's funny and it's absurd and it's awful and it's horrible. And the author of that book, Lemony Snicket or Daniel Handler, like how much expertise and study and training and practice did it take someone to write a line as absurd as, instead of toys, Count Olaf had provided a small pile of rocks for the children to entertain themselves with. And now I just get to have that forever. So if that book was ever burned, I would have that sentence memorized and I would become part of a living library. That's what Fahrenheit 451 did get right. So share your books with your friends. Share your physical media with your friends, because that's how you like disseminate knowledge into the world. It's exciting and it's fun to be part of. Read books. if you're interested. You can read these ones, or on my other YouTube channel, I'll link it down below. I have the books that I don't lend out, the books that stay on my library, in my private library, that are too important for me to lend. Read those, read these, read whatever you want. Go walk around your neighborhood, find a book that somebody's throwing out, and read that one. Okay, have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.